the number one reason people fail the SHRM certification exam, you know what it is? Situational judgment questions. All right, we're going to fix that today. So welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Letitia Newby. I'm an attorney, HR professional, and your go-to guide for navigating the SHRM certification exam with confidence. Now, today we are up in here talking about those dreadful situational judgment questions. Yeah, the messy real life questions, the ones that they throw at you where it's some chaotic workplace scenario and they give you a handful of like decent sounding options and then ask you, what's your best response? Tricky, right? Yes. And we know that these questions are tricky because a lot of the answers tend to feel plausible, but only one of them is actually truly going to reflect HR strategy, compliance, and leadership. Now, today we're going to be talking about how to spot the best answer for these questions, which can truly make the difference between passing and almost passing. All right, let's talk about why these questions tend to be so challenging. One of the things that comes to mind for me is that they're the real world questions, right? And these are easy to trip you up because maybe at your company you do it a little bit differently. Maybe at a company you used to work at, you wouldn't have done it that way. But remember, with these questions, you are really looking at what is the best possible way? What is the best practice? What is the gold standard in HR when it comes to this type of situation? So you don't want to necessarily rely on what you've always done because maybe it's something that you could get away with in your current organization, but it's not truly the gold standard. Okay. The other thing that I think that trips people up with these questions is that, sometimes it's the emotion of it all, right? And so we're weighing our emotional response versus a strategic response. And so when you read a scenario where somebody's being mistreated or someone's being disrespected or there is, some inequity, right? The human side of us, especially if you're in HR, you want to jump in and fix it, right? Especially if normally in your organization or in your work, that's something you've been able to do. But we have to remember, as HR professionals, we really have to think broader. We have to consider, are there any legal risks? What is our company culture? What are our current company policies? Are we setting any precedent? What are our current business objectives before we just jump into making a decision? And then remember, I think the other thing that is challenging about these questions is that the answers all tend to sound pretty reasonable. You're rarely choosing between an obviously good and an obviously bad answer. They're usually very close. And you usually can get down to two where you're kind of like, I would do either one of these things. So you really want to go through the options using a strategic framework to help you eliminate some of those options that may be there just to kind of trip you up. So today I'm going to share with all of you my framework for mastering situational judgment questions. I call this the L.E.A.D framework, L-E-A-D. We're going to talk about it. So the first letter, L, is for legal. So with these questions, you want to ask yourself, am I protecting the company from a legal standpoint, right? So you're looking at, are there any discrimination, harassment, retaliation, or even safety issues that are being presented in this fact pattern? Are there wage and hour risk, right? Or is there other compliance obligation that I need to meet before I can really solve this problem? If there is a potential violation, address it first before worrying about coaching, training, or even the feeling of it, right? Your best answer is going to be, how do you address, correct, or rectify that initial compliance risk that might be out there, okay? The second letter, the E, is for employer protection. So as you're going through this, as you're going through the scenario, you want to think beyond legal compliance and think about how are we protecting or supporting the organization in this fact pattern, right? Are there risk management concerns that we need to address? What are our policies and procedures say about this? Did the fact pattern tell us that there's some policy or procedure that's not being followed? How will the outcome impact our reputation or the brand, right? And so you want to think about if there is some employer protection there, you need to make sure that you're addressing that as well. The third letter is the A, assist or support employees. So once the legal and the business risks are handled, how are you supporting people, right? Good HR is strategic HR, and it is also human-centered HR, right? So you want to think about how are we coaching managers to be better leaders? How are we supporting managers and utilizing those leadership skills in the scenario? Do we need to support the employee in understanding what their rights are or some other measure, right? Is there an opportunity to question the culture that we currently have? Is there a culture of trust? Do we need to provide a culture of support? And then also, I would say too, anytime you come across a question or a scenario that is asking you to uphold fairness, that's going to be one of your best answers, right? And then the D is demonstrate, right? How do you demonstrate or show leadership? And so within this scenario, think about what truly demonstrates real leadership. Is it setting clear expectations? Is it having those crucial conversations? Is it making sure you don't avoid the conflict and sweep it under the rug? Is it modeling ethical behaviors? Are we making decisions that align with our organizational values? These are the type of behaviors that you're going to want to really be paying attention to. And we have to remember that situational judgment questions, you want to make sure that you understand some of the content and the material that is taught through our certification prep course, as well as that is truly a best practice in HR. All right, so we're going to do a quick practice question for you here so that we can walk through this framework and you can see exactly how it works. All right, so my scenario is an employee reports that their manager has been making offensive jokes during meetings. The employee tells you that they don't want to make a big deal about it, but they felt uncomfortable. What do you do as the HR professional? Here are the options. A, thank the employee and encourage them to resolve it directly with their manager. B, immediately launch a formal investigation. C, tell the manager to stop joking around. D, host a general harassment training for all employees without addressing the specific concern. Now, let's walk through our framework. So remember our L, stay legal, is do we have any legal issues here? Well, yeah, we have a potential harassment concern, and we know we cannot ignore that. E, employer protection. Are we protecting the company, or is there an opportunity to protect the company? Yes, in a situation like this, we know we would need to have a documented investigation because that would also protect the business to ensure that we took appropriate measures to make sure that we were creating an environment for our employees that does not involve harassment. The third one, assist employees. Remember, we can support our employees. In order to do that in this scenario, we want to listen. We want to make sure that we're there for them. We want to ensure that the employee feels heard and also protected in this situation. And then D, which was our last option, demonstrate leadership. How are we demonstrating leadership in this example? We want to make sure that our action is aligned with values, that we're not sweeping it under the rug, and that we're being proactive. So when we think about the answer that allows us to address the concern and not ignore it, to document the process and investigate, to make sure that the employee feels heard and also protected, and then not sweep this under the rug. And the one answer that does all of that is answer B, right? Immediately launch a formal investigation. With that answer, we're addressing the harassment. We're going right into an investigation. That means we're taking the employee serious so they can feel heard and protected. And we're showing leadership by not just ignoring it or sweeping it under the rug. Okay. So that was just a quick example that I wanted to give you all to kind of walk through this format as you're thinking about your practice questions and how you can really make the most of your study time. Remember, this exam is not about memorizing facts. It's really about learning to think like a strategic HR leader. And mastering these situational judgment questions is going to be the biggest unlock for passing this exam with confidence. So remember, I've helped dozens of professionals just like you crush this exam, and I know that you can do it too. If you want to learn more about our certification prep course, you can check out the link in the bio. And remember, we also have a free certification success group that you can join where you can connect with other professionals who are studying for this exam and who are also working towards earning their certification. Now, remember to follow us so that you can get more study tips, and we want to help you get across the finish line. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right. Until next time, have a great one.